merely as an example makes it even more a crime against humanity. And the small figures with the innocence of toy dolls seem to make such brutal events even more horrific. And so the crusade rolled on. Rape, pillage, massacres, burnings, right across the Languedoc. And right through to the Inquisition, initiated specially to deal with the residue of Cathar thought. So in total between 150 and 200 years of terror and torture. I've taken groups of young people to this splendid museum, and I remember on one occasion some of them went on ahead, like young people do, and suddenly a big cheer went up. They'd found out that Simon de Montfort met his end at the hands of women. During the siege of Toulouse, he had his skull caved in with a rock flung from one of the huge catapults, the mangonel, which was operated on that particular day by women. The young people cheered with delight at his demise, as I am sure many Cathars did at the time. And Rouquette still ponders the question, are you a Cathar? The men and women who earlier this century rescued Catharism from oblivion, like Jean de Verneuil, Michel Roquebert and Anne Brennan, were not and are not the priests of the revived Cathar religion. There are no perfecti today carrying on from the 12th and 13th and 14th centuries, the Church of God. That church is dead and gone, and there's no sign that it will ever live again. Yes, I am a Cathar, at least as much and as little as one can be in these times, as much and as little as a man of meagre faith and slender hope can dare to claim. Yes, I suppose I am a Cathar. Yves Rouquette, bless him. The journey of Mary Magdalene to Marseille was painted by Giotto in Assisi. Giotto's panel shows them in a rudderless ship with their homeland to the left and their arrival in Marseille on the right, sent out in a rudderless ship across the Mediterranean. Sound familiar? Mm-hmm. The church at Rennes-le-Château is well known and was dedicated to Mary Magdalene and had been built previously over the site of a temple dedicated to Isis. Images of Magdalene proliferate in statues, in a bas-relief at the foot of the altar, and in stained glass windows. As well as in the magnificent Tour Magdala, built to one side of the presbytery. Cathar women adopted the devotion of Mary, and there's something about Mary, and a Gnostic gospel even proclaimed her as a woman who understood completely. This is an image of Rooney Mara from the film Mary Magdalene. This movie sets out to rescue Mary from an age-old tradition of patriarchal condensation and misinterpretation. I don't know if it succeeds. The tomb at St. Baume, the Holy Cave, on the site where the sarcophagus of Mary was found during excavations under the Basilica of St. Maxim, and became a place venerated by Christians from the early centuries. Mary's statue at St. Paul, and the chapel in the rock. The statue with the alabaster jar on the site of the St. Maxim Basilica, and the external grotto there. There's a legend that Mary lived much of her later life in a cave in prayer and meditation. In Marseille, there stands the Abbey of St. Victor, and in the crypt is a carving said to be of Mary Magdalene kneeling before the cross. It's much damaged throughout age, but she looks as if she has her hands rested on either an object or a bump. The Grotto de Bethlehem is near to Montségur and was a sacred place of the Cathar people, a spiritual centre of the Cathar world. Here, pure candidates underwent an initiation ceremony that culminated in the Consolamentum. A strange pentagram is carved into the wall, and people have felt there telluric currents emanating from the rock walls and the floor. So we have the devotional Mary, married to Jesus and carried his child to France, establishing a bloodline that flourished through the lineage of the Merovingian priest kings and flowed through into the devotions of the Cathars. This painting by Nicolas Poussin is called The Shepherds of Arcadia, and it's become better known as Et in Arcadia Ego. The shepherds are gathered round a tomb, believed to be the tomb of Dagobert II, the last of the Merovingian kings. It was there in the 1980s when Bajent-Lee and Lincoln wrote about it in their Holy Blood and Holy Grail. As a result of the book, however, so many people came looking for the tomb that the landowner despaired, and he blew it up one night and destroyed the tomb. I've been there, I've seen the spot, I've seen the remaining pile of rubble. In the background there's a mountain range. This mountain is said to be Bugarash. In Bugarash there are reports of strange happenings, UFO sightings and ghostly stories amongst the locals. It is said that Poussin never went to the old region, but the writers of Holy Blood, Holy Grail disagree. And it certainly looks like Bugarash. The Da Vinci Last Supper has thrown up the much debated notion that Mary Magdalene is sitting on the right side of Jesus, not John the Apostle as some claim. Lynn Picknett and Clive Prince came up with this notion in their book. They show Mary and Jesus dressed in similar but oppositely coloured clothes, a negative image of each other. The notion of the figure to the right hand of Jesus being John the Apostle is not reinforced by copies of the Da Vinci painting. And in stained glass, for sure, it becomes more like a woman. Dan Brown, by the way, ripped off the scholars of Mary Magdalene and all the Rennes Chateau stuff and bastardised it in a novel. There's a celestial interpretation of the painting. The horizon is set through the landscape that we can see through the window, and Jesus is the sun on the horizon. The disciples are in 4 groupings of 3, aligning with the seasons, and Thomas is pointing upwards, indicating the number 1 and the starting point of the sequence. We have Virgo as Mary, Libra as Peter, and Scorpio as Judas, all in the autumn grouping. This is Glamis Castle, mentioned in Macbeth. And when I visited Glamis, I noticed in the chapel a picture of the Last Supper by Dutch artist Johannes de Vet. And for sure, the woman leaning on Jesus is a woman. Sorry. And for sure, the figure leaning on Jesus is a woman. The good people of the medieval Midi found ingenious ways to hide their secret heresy. They put watermarks in the paper that they manufactured. Many Grail and Vine symbols were represented the bloodline were used. This one combines both. And here's an actual watermark that was found in the document. The Grail contains images of the fleur-de-lis, the symbol associated with the Merovingian King Clovis I, and the legitimate bloodline of Jesus and Mary. I must say, by the way, that there aren't many Cathar documents, and what there are come from largely from Bulgaria, from the Bogomil tradition in Bulgaria that had a coincidence with the Cathars in France. But what we know about the Cathars to begin with largely came from the Inquisition documents, so it was very unreliable. But these research people who we met earlier have nailed all that, and they did find some documents. The chalice, the Grail, long associated with goodness and chivalry, the vessel that contained the blood of Christ as he died on the cross, or is the symbol of Mary, who carried the child of the sacred marriage. Mary is portrayed as devout by Titian. We have the Mary of the movie. The woman with the alabaster jar. The loving Mary of the sacred marriage. Mary captured forever in stained glass and beautifully lit from behind. The iconic Mary, who appears in many guises. Mary with the egg, the symbol of the birth. Now then, this is where I did a bit of, what do you call this program? What's this program called?
Google searching?
Eh?
Searching?
No, the program we're using.
Well, PowerPoint.
PowerPoint,
Yeah.
yeah. I was very proud of how I used PowerPoint next, because here we have a picture of Mary with a red egg. Where have I got to? Busy minute with a red egg. The iconic Mary with a red egg and an alabaster jar. The red eggs, which I guess were the original Easter eggs. The Garden of Earthly Delights, painted by Hieronymus Bosch. Art historians are divided as to whether the central panel is a moral warning or a panorama of paradise lost. But Linda Harris, in her book, The Secret Heresy of Hieronymus Bosch, speculates that the artist was much inspired by the Cathar heresy and that he included secret symbolism in his paintings to be only recognised by other believers. Bosch painted a marriage feast at Cana, which is taken from the story in John 2, 1-12, where he performs his miracle of turning water into wine. Giotto also painted a marriage at Cana, as did Paolo Veronese in his very elaborate affair that hangs in the Louvre. Do all these paintings on this theme embody secret heresy? Who knows? Vasily Nestorenko, who's a 20th century Russian artist, in his marriage at Cana, he seems to point towards a sacred marriage. The bride and the bridegroom have a position of significance. Are they, in fact, significant people? The notion of a sacred relationship between Jesus and Mary Magdalene, the inclusion of the sacred feminine and the Holy Grail, all touch a deep part in all of us, an archetypal truth. When secret societies preserve traditions, they are revealing the mysteries of Hieros Gamos, the sacred marriage, and point directly to the living traditions of Gnosticism. The marriage of the sun and the moon, the union of light and the lunar feminine principle to make a perfect whole. In Spain, there was the Cathar Congress of 2017, where modern groups who call themselves Cathars were probably most sincere in adopting the ideology. They dress up and they whirl and they swirl and no doubt have a blissful and enlightening time. It's a glorious, all singing, all dancing affair. But are they Cathars? I think they miss something of the purity and the poverty of the Cathars. Shakti's been worshipped as the Divine Mother, the Mother of the Universe, Adi Shakti. The Australian Aboriginal mythology, Birranuglu is the goddess of fertility. She's married to Biama, with whom she is the mother of Daramulum. The Hopi Indian accounts of creation centre around Tawa, the sun spirit, who formed the first world, as well as the original inhabitants. Spider-Woman served as a messenger for the Creator and was an intercessor between the deity and the people. Bjork has adopted something of the Hopi Indian look for her innovative album Homogenic. And we should not forget, of course, Princess Leia. Isis, a goddess who was the sister and wife of Osiris, and they had a son named Horus. Isis protected children, healed the sick, and was the goddess of magic. Horus is one of the most important divinities in the Damanhurian triad. Bastet is another in that spiritual triad. Bastet means she of the ointment jar in ancient Egyptian. And Gaia. Pan is the third Damanhurian triad entity, the god of the earth, but the goddess of the earth is Gaia, one of the Greek primordial deities. Gaia is the primal Mother Earth goddess. As Martha screams in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, I'm the Earth Mother and you're all slobs. Anana, she was the ancient Sumerian goddess of love, beauty, sex, desire, fertility, war, combat, justice and political power. She was later worshipped by the Akkadians, the Babylonians and the Assyrians as Ishtar. She was known as the Queen of Heaven. The moon goddess is an important deity in many cultures around the world. The moon is associated with the divine feminine in many tribal societies, the feminine cycles that were linked to the phases of the moon. Every full moon, the good people of Damanhur take part in a ritual celebrating the feminine, spiritual and the oracle. This is a fresco from the earth hall in the temple that illustrates such an event. The Royal Mary Magdalene Hospital in the Andalusian city of Almeria is relevant to the healing qualities of the Cathars. Their practices were derived from the first Christians, the actual family and followers of Jesus. Prana is a healing force that flows through ancient mystics, through Mary Magdalene, through the Cathars, and resides among spiritual healers on the earth today. At Damanhur, they use the ancient art of Selphika to add to the extra energy in the prana forces. Here is Sharma practicing prana through the healing hands and some of the Selphika artifacts that she can use to aid her work. So, the journey I began when the name Cathar seared into my brain when I read it in the Flickr book has now reached a new plateau where I'm investigating the monumental changes taking place at Damanhur that could manifest themselves as one of the greatest breakthroughs in the history of humankind. Watch this space, please. Thank you.